can only answer for myself. For a very long time, I didn't know really what right was or what wrong was. Therefore, I had to trust some aspect of myself, and I would trust and go to the very brightest mirror of myself I could find. For many years, they were books. And later, they were teachers, people, so I could pose the question as you've just done. But I had already made the determination before I would ever see a teacher. In fact, for many, many years, I wouldn't go. I just wouldn't. Because I'd say, why should I allow the physical image to interpose itself between what I've just read? I'm enjoying what I'm reading. That reading is grand. It's been inspiring and enlightening. Now if I go and see gray hair or no hair or wrinkles or stooped shoulders or something, why have all that between the joy that I saw there? And so I wouldn't go see the personal teacher. As a matter of fact, Lillian Waters, a very lovely lady, once told me not to come. She said, you've seen grand beauty in my work. Your whole experience seems to be new and alive and vibrant. And she says, now why do you insist on coming up here? And I said, because I want to talk to you face to face. And she said, you found me in my books and that's enough for the time. And I never saw her, I never went. Other teachers I went to. So in any event, the sincere finally get there. Those that are really hungering and thirsting, and the way is made, because I made my own way, it would seem, and I know no other way to operate except as my own experience, and I can only answer your question through my own. For many years I didn't know what was right or wrong, and I finally, when I found somebody I thought I could trust, and I thought was honest, and I thought was really leveling, and wasn't on an ego trip, and didn't have any personal axe to grind, and wasn't trying to make a living because of people coming to see him, or because he was selling a bunch of tapes, or selling a lot of books, and he had nothing. It appeared that a total enigma to me, and that was sort of a criterion for me. Then, okay, I would put my trust there. And I lived what he said. If he said that was good, I would accept that as good. And if he said something was bad, and yet it was a cherished good for me, I finally forced myself. I said, all right, if he says that's bad, I won't do it. For a long time, it was that sort of a determination. I don't know at what point you feel yourself at the moment, but then as time went on with me, as I began to speak of good as all, that there is nothing but good, that if God is all, what is this evil the world is talking about? And I began to view differently. Instead of viewing from the bottom of the grand pyramid, looking up towards the apex of it, along a line of thought, I started as a point in time and space. And then I looked along a line of thought to the apex of the pyramid, which I was told was part of a vast plane, an infinite plane, which in turn was a part of a grand infinite sphere. I quit doing all that. And somehow or other, in the declaration that God is all, and frankly, freely, honestly, I admitted that on faith at first. It didn't seem that God was all. It seemed like there was God and an awful lot of stupidity around, God and an awful lot of war around, God and an awful lot of false trips around, drugs and everything else. But I was forced finally in anguish and my own personal desperation and grand natural anguish, absolutely part of the scene, though I didn't know it at the time, and part of the plan. I began to say, okay, God is all. Then what's bad? What's bad? All right, for a time. This was a grand and freeing concept, and I must say that it seemed a time for license. I found myself professing an awful lot of stuff that I didn't really know about, but using the conjecture of the top-down idea that God is all, I heard myself saying, well, there isn't anything else but God, and so there isn't any evil, and I was, while cars were smashing up along sides of the roads and men were falling in rows in front of me and all of that, I was saying, this isn't really going on at all, it's a dream. But then finally intellectual honesty or heart honesty or whatever would say, but all right, a dream. Why the dream? Is it a good dream or is it a bad dream? What is the dream and why a dream if God is all? Okay, now truncate all that. Finally, and it happens for all of us, there is a voice within us saying, which is the way, walk ye in it. To those who say God is all, in absolute trust. And most often, at least certainly for myself, that trust was born out of desperation. So I said, I have no alternative. I've tried to climb I've tried to get there every other way. All right, God is all. And this life is God's responsibility. From that moment on, there was a voice behind me saying, this is the way, walk ye in it. Now, granted, that's no answer. What do you mean a voice? Did you hear something? No. There was a grand sense of equanimity, joy, release. The very moment I said, all right, the me sense is a fiction, but it is a necessary fiction that allows the genuine identity to be perceived and understood and known fully, without a doubt. So therefore, thank you, me sense, for making identity clear. And identity, this awareness, is God or mind's functioning, going on. Awareness, after all, is the activity of mind. Therefore, when I did that now, when I did it, there was a sense of the air suddenly is very light. I can breathe again. It came as a gentle joy, just a gentle sense of joy. No great big bodacious blinding road to Damascus experience. It may be in the Bible as Paul's experience, but it's a lot of baloney. It doesn't come that way necessarily. Enlightenment can come as the softest, most joyful thing. And as a matter of fact, that, for me, is how it began. And I didn't even recognize it for the longest time. The gentle joys, they were too simple. They weren't big enough. They weren't like I had heard all the grand teachers say, a great body of light. I'm blind. I don't see materiality at all. Why, there's no matter for life to be in or for substance to be in. It wasn't that way. It was a sense of gentle joy for the lightest moment. And as I say, I didn't recognize it for the longest time. But now, that gentle joy has been with me for years and years and years. Not that it isn't assailed, and not that there aren't all kinds of human experiences that would appear to try to smash it to bits. But if that gentle joy, that sense of quiet, there are no words for that feeling, it's not a feeling, it's almost the absence of feeling. But I don't know how to put it. All right, now that is the voice within me saying, this is the way, walk ye in it. Now, if I go out and have a great bodacious night drinking with the boys and playing cards or whatever, and God knows I've had my share of every human experience I can think of, I will awaken the next morning and know without any doubt or equivocation that it was not good because the sense of equanimity has faded. Maybe just a little bit. Or maybe a lot. And that is the voice behind me saying, this is the way, walk ye in it. And it's stated in the Bible, and it's absolutely true. That is the truth, and this is the joy. All right, from that point on, I could determine for myself what was good or evil. Evil, quote, that is, that which was delineating its opposite in the arena of tangibilities, because good and evil only exists in the intellectual arena where we see finiteness and opposites. A good story, a lousy story. A nice smooth pearl or a square barbed wire wrapped egg laid painfully. And the voice within me saying, this is the way. Whenever I've overeaten or undereaten, overexercised or underexercised, been dishonest or not honest enough or deceitful or whatever, I find that the joy that is I, that sense of relief that is I, is diminished. And then I know, and I know I know. And that's the guide I go by. And I have no other guide. But it took me a time. Honestly, it took a time. I don't think that time to get there is necessary. I think that you can listen to someone whom you trust and believe, and you can try it out for yourself. His ideas that seem honest. You can try them out, and you can therefore not be bound by the awful time that experience appears to require, an entire cycle of life and death. Yes, you can trust the heart. The heart of you can trust. But now, the heart without the intellect is just as deceitful and devious as the intellect alone. Now, I have an awful lot of quarrels, or used to have, with metaphysicians that would say, oh my goodness, I've never heard such nonsense as that. But with one's first discovery of metaphysics, and all of a sudden we see, why, there's another universe, there's another way to think. There's another way to arrive at a conscious seeing of health and joy. With that comes an overflowing heart that if the intellect is left out of the scene, becomes just as overbearing and is misleading as the intellect alone. And we find ourselves chasing rainbows. And that this idea, when one takes the genuine identity to be oneself, it appears tangibly as one having suddenly many new interests, not narrowed to religious interest, not narrowed to a specific thing, a metaphysical interest, but a wide and expansive interest. Ask me how many interests I have. I've got 1,000,000 of them, and I love them all, and I'm so enthused. And then another thing that's a key to it: people that have been lethargic and without enthusiasm and without energy and have, I don't know what, but suddenly all that's gone. There's a new interest. There's a new joy. But one of the grand things is this to take awareness to be your identity, and the universe is within awareness. There is a tangible outpicturing of people who suddenly are no longer bound to home. Not bound to a little bitty place and a little bitty job, but are all of a sudden they can go anywhere they like and do whatever they like, and the means to do it is always there present. This is the fruitage of these ideas that I've been living, and I'm living the fact of it. And I see hundreds doing the same thing. And new abilities that spring up. I can't tell you how many people, because part of my instruction is that I give at Woodsong, that I would love to give here, but we don't have time. It would take a week. But part of it includes a very wonderful exercise of just simple writing. You know, writing poems and writing something that's beautiful. Not writing necessarily religious things at all, but writing the truth on a big, beautiful piece of white paper that's clean and pure and without spot or blemish on it. And then you write something, and the world's different with that line on there, isn't it? All right, and it includes that. And okay, I can't tell you how many people I've heard say, I can't write. Why? I can talk. I'm a great conversationalist, but I can't write. I'm the worst letter writer in the world. Who are now published authors, and who are now lecturers, known not on one continent but on many, and who are editors of magazines, and who are heads of publishing houses. And I've told it to you straight. I've seen men and women who would say, oh, I've always wanted to paint, or I've wanted to sculpt, I've wanted to whatever, to take on new interests. This awareness that is aware, that right here, right now, that listens, here now, includes all the ideas and all the hobbies and all the highs. It includes in supposititious opposite all the lows, all the anguish, all of the consequences of excessiveness, all of the oblivion of hell and all there is to hell. Which is nothing, but it's something, it's a nothing claiming to be something. It's a nothing that appears to be something. And it's a nothing that is a very vicious nothing until its lesson is perceived and understood. This awareness here right now has every capability and every capacity. And to take awareness to be one's identity, and not the me sense that says this is my awareness. My awareness is going to tell me this. That's a bunch of baloney. We'll drop the me who says my to just be awareness, because that's what we are. Right now, awareness is aware, because awareness is life living consciously. That's what awareness is. But awareness is also life living unconsciously. It's also life living subliminally, that is, on the fringes of consciousness. Awareness includes all that. And awareness is aware right here, right now. And the me sense is a role that has been adopted for good reason, but adopted, and it's not intended to be kept forever. And it can be let go. It seems to be very sticky, though. It seems to come back like a magnetized balloon. You keep pushing the balloon and it's stuck to your fingers again. And it's back again. But finally, but even that is a lesson being learned. All the while, awareness is going right on being aware. And it's God's awareness, the divine awareness of being. And pretty soon, you don't have to go around saying that to yourself all the time. Now, for years I would say, now, see, hear. And I took those three words, now, the only time that ever was. Seeing is what awareness seems to be about, as well as hearing and feeling and so forth. And here, the only place awareness ever is, here, that includes the universe. And I used to, that was my first step when anguish would present itself. After a mountaintop experience or after days of joy, and then suddenly I'm in the slough of despond again, I would say, now, see, here. And yeah, we do that for a while. But even while we're doing it, the fact that awareness is already unencumbered, free, without a competitor, and without a devil, is also the fact. And it's our knowledge, accepted on faith first, even while the devil seems very real, but accepted on faith first, that allows us soon to see it and let it go. Suddenly the balloon isn't back on our fingers again. I finished the last hour by saying some of the things that had been a part of this experience. An expanding sense of awareness. Awareness is already entirely unfolded, widely expansive. It's only tangibility and the perception of tangibility that appears to be unfolding line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. But we take awareness to be we take the only mind, the divine mind, that mind which was in Christ Jesus, to use the Christian terminology. We take that mind to be all there is to this life we are. And then there's a growing expansiveness, a growing sense of joy, a delight in small things, and a conscious awareness of the experience called, for lack of a better word, I don't know what word to use really, but it's been called illumination. It's been called the seminal experience. I don't know what term to give it because I don't think it can be named. But let's just say then the experience of light, the divine light, the genuine, the uncluttered view of the universe. And while it isn't just a view, it's more than that. It's a feeling, and everything. That begins to grow too. Now, I would like to say something that's sort of like a story, but it's very true. That experience is, when it happens, and it's happening here today with a lot of us, a sense of newness and a sense of joy and a sense of relief and a sense of fresh air and a sense of the child suddenly being here and real and the onlyness of us and the fact of it. All right, now when this comes and when it happens, it could be likened, let's say, to a pear tree blooming, or a peach tree blooming, or an apple tree blooming. We recognize the little joy for what it is and thank it for what it is and thank and acknowledge that which is being it for what it is and that which is seeing it for what it is. And we do it. Literally, tangibly do it. We get off our butt and do it. I said, thank you, Father. Thank you. And people heard me. And I thought, my God, they think I'm a nut. Next thing I'll be wrapped up in a white jacket. But I didn't care. I said, thank you. And I rode home. All the way home, and the joy lingered. And that night, as I was reading whatever I was reading in the Bible at that time, I found the statement about be faithful with the pennies first. I've been faithful with them ever since. I can tell you that the little joy is to be savored. The little one. Look for the little one. Look for the butterfly that's flying against the wind and manages to make it. Look at those things that are beautiful and tender and gentle, whatever they might be. And we all have different ones. And pretty soon you'll see you have them all, because this awareness includes them all. Oh, what a joy to see the anguish of joggers, the new ones. And their victory when it's all over with. And what a joy all of these things, suddenly you find joys in some of the darndest things, in the strangest places. Those are the small joys to be, because what are they? And where do they come from? The joy I have reference to is an ineffable joy that really can't be described. It's more than human joy. It's more than any of the good feelings that come from any ingested thing. It's more than the euphoric, psychological highs that come from spiritual literature or ecstatic feelings. It's more than that. And yet, at the same time, it is that. It is in the presence of a flower. It's in the presence of grass. It's in the presence of a grain of sand. And it's all, of course, a state of mind. And it's truly past finding out intellectually. And it's past talking about intellectually. All I can do is point a crooked finger, point a spaghetti finger, what I'm saying. The Oriental would say, listen, I can tell you about that joy. But it's like, I can show you the moon, but you have to see it. All right. One of the remarkable things that has been a consequence of these ideas that have been my joy to live is another thing that I can't explain. And it brings us down to this meeting, this togetherness that's going on right here, right now. And I can't ask you to believe this. I don't care if you believe it or not, but it's a fact, and I'll just say it as it is. One of the consequences that I've observed for a long time is that there is a benefit to a pilgrimage. Now, I don't know and by a pilgrimage, I mean getting up and putting the books down and putting the job aside, putting the daily routine aside, and moving out as a pilgrimage, a physical thing, to go to one's Shekinah, one's Holy of Holies for the moment, whatever it might be. And in this case, it just happens to be a meeting here in Pueblo that you folks have come. Some of you but you've each made a sacrifice. You're not here without a sacrifice. This time is not time spent doing something else. Here you are. And the quest is honorable, because it's a quest for the dignity of joy and the honesty of self-discovery, with no malice involved, no motive involved, no. And here you are. Now, the thing that I've noticed is that this experience somehow is communicated. I know it isn't the words, because I don't say them very well. But I have lived to see many find this joy that's bigger than the body by 100 million times. And I have seen it become a permanent, unending joy. Like a guide within one. The very moment you do something that would upset it or disturb it, you know it. And from that point on, you are your own master. That is God. God is at the helm. Truly, that is the ineffable selfhood is at the helm. And I've seen this joy become lasting for many. All right, now I remind you of the the apple tree that struggled for a very, very long time. And when it first found the little boy with the stick and said, this is it. The little joy, let me be faithful with a penny. And all of a sudden it grew bigger and bigger. And pretty soon you said, all right, what is all this work telling me? It's telling me about an ineffable rest that is ready. What is this job that I appear to be so dependent on telling me? It's telling me about an independent, absolutely free, unbound, eternal awareness that is God's awareness. And, all right, now when all of these joys begin to blossom and bloom, and they will, they will. Because these words expose it, I guess, if anything, an already truth, an already fact. But it's not any personal accomplishment that either you or I have had a thing to do with. It's the truth outing, the inevitability of truth's own self-discovery going on. Well, it's sort of like the apple tree suddenly blooms. And we look at our branches and we say, my God, I'm different. Fine, damn, I'm different. Look. The joy that you might feel this moment, the sense of equanimity or peace that you might feel this moment is your heritage. It is your heritage. It is your divine right. All that ever moves it away is a me sense, a struggling me sense. Now that me sense, let's don't condemn it. And let's don't try to kill it. And let's don't clobber it, but let's understand what it is. Without the me sense, the fictitious imposter, the devil, if you want to call it that, without it, would we have ever really known? And know we knew what identity was all about. Would we really know what the child is had we not tried to live the adulterating adult to the hilt, to its futility, to finally come back to the child again. This time we know what the child is. The child that Jesus spoke of isn't a child that runs around like that. It's often with gray hair and gnarled fingers. The child that we are, that child. We come back to that child. That child is unchanged. No storm has ever touched it. Nothing has ever removed its idealism or clouded its vision. We would feed it. Well, so don't worry about being the naked child and its idealism and its enthusiasm. Don't worry about being considered a kook if you don't conform to the attempt to be the adult, the sophisticated adult, the far out, living it up to the hilt, running to the end of all the human extremities. Don't worry if you don't go along with it, but prefer childlikeness. The statement was very honestly made, lest you become as children. And you know, for so many years I didn't know what that meant. I thought I did. All the three of us right now is the child heart of it. Oh, but it's not without its intellect. A presence, the divine presence of being. The heart of us is very much like that puppy dog that goes running through, oblivious to all the skullduggery of sophistication, wagging its tail anyway. Sort of like a dog that goes for a walk with Rachel and me every evening, wagging her tail, running through the woods, but you'll notice that the dog keeps very close to something. It keeps very close to the one who accompanies it. And so as the child heart of us goes out and examines the vistas of top-down viewing, that is beginning with God viewing, that God is all, God is right here, right now. And this awareness, I am, is the functioning of it. As that child romps and roams and goes exploring like a dog, smelling and sniffing and going in circles and wagging its tail, it still stays very close to that mind, which is being all there is to this awareness. An awareness, that is, God is forever our guide.